Hello. Hello, everybody. How are you? It's back again. It's our third study jam for Udacity front-end scholarship. Today we are going to talk about project number 6, which is called the restaurant stage 1. In this project, we have to cover mainly three things. The first thing we have to cover is responsiveness. The second thing is accessibility, and the third is the service worker and how to make this project work offline. So let's take a look at the project and let's see what we are going to do. Okay, so the first part of the project is responsiveness. How can we deal with this responsiveness? We have two types of responsive we can deal with. First one, we can deal with the Flexbox. The second one, we can deal with media query. Choose your way of responsive, that way you would like to work with. Like this, you can achieve the main project goal. The second way is by media query. Media query, we have to set fixed media query for each viewport, like for 300 pixel or for 500 pixel or for like 700 pixel. In each one, you have to set the viewport or the media query you would like to work with. So let's start from the beginning. What should be done? What should we do? Okay, let's say that to start this project, we have to do the following. Okay. Okay, with me now, I am going to run the application. Sorry, I'm just trying to run the application correctly. Seems. So according according to Udacity now, we have two types of this repo. We have one repo working with the Mapbox and Leaflet files, and the second one working with the Google Maps API. Choose anyone you would like to work with. Like this, you will have the ability to choose the correct way of working. To make the map show, you for the Google Maps, you have to put your API key in the index of the main project and at the restaurant page. Each one of them, you should put your API inside every one of them, where you have the API key. Like this, you can make the map work, and you can show the markers on the screen. And for the second one, for the map box, you have to use your token. Like this, you will be able to show the map for the second repo. But for now, what can we do? First of all, we have to download the repo files and open it with our desired file editor. For me, I love to work with the VS Code. Now, let's start. The first of all, what shall we do? In each step, for step one, we have to work with the responsive. Okay. So for the responsive thing, we need to do like this. Here is our CSS files. And here is our style. So make sure that you have your application working and running. I am working with Flexbox, so I have modified my files to be playing with Flexbox. This is much easier for you to have the order thing, and you can arrange screens over each other. For me, here you can see for the navigation as an example, I have used as Splyflex, and I have aligned items to center, like to have the navigations in the center of the page, so you can view the Flexbox working successfully. Also for the breadcrumb, where you have the navigation menu, also need to be something like this. Here, for the restaurant filtering option, we have also used Flexbox, and we have changed its direction to row and justify content to center. Why we have done this? We have done this for two reasons. The first one is we want to make sure that our page won't to break in each viewport, and Flexbox is the most major browser support, so you don't have to do anything more than using Flexbox. You don't have to implement any other media query for this. Okay, so let's start by showing you how should the Mapbox work and how the main project work. So if you are working with Mapbox, this should be your first start page for the project. The map is not showing and nothing is working at all. Everything is messed up and nothing is working. What should you do first to solve these problems? As I said, if you choose to work with Mapbox, you have to use your token for these files. For me, as an example, you have to open mapbox.com and then navigate to your JS file and open your main JS file. In your JS file, you will find where in the code you are asked to show the your token like this. Here you are asked for the Mapbox API. You have to provide your Mapbox API key here or your API token inside these semicolons. So like this, the map will be showing on screen and working successfully. If you choose to work with API key, the API key should be implemented directly in your page, in your index file. All you have to do is like this. You have to open your index. And at the end of the page, you can find that it's asking you to implement your API key. Here, you would be asked to use your API key in this place. Like this, you will have API for the map working and the map will be shown on the screen. Remember, you have to use your API key in two places. The first place is in the index HTML and in the restaurant page also .html. In both pages, you have to use the API key. Okay, so like this now we have the map working and we have the markers on screen and have everything. What should be our next step? Our next step, we have to load the data for these drop downs and for the application to work. Okay, we have two options to load the data from. The first one is by using a live server. Here in Udacity, they prefer to work with Python live server. So you can implement the Python live server and start working with, or you can choose to implement your own server. Okay, what should I do to implement my own server? In the DB helper file, this file, in this file, you can find two things: the port number and the link to the project. All you have to do is to change the default port number from 8000 to 500, 500, 500, 5500, or any other port number you are using. Like this, your project will be back working again with no problems. Let me show you what I have done in the DB helper. Here you can see I have used the 500 as a port number. Like this, my project will work directly on the port number of 500. Or if your editor support any other live plugins to work with, just implement your port here in this port number, and the data should be working now successfully. For me now, as the project now is working, and the marker everything, let me show you how to start with everything in details. Now you can see, after loading the live server and after loading everything, you have seen the markers now are on screen, and each marker shown its name and loading its data. And for the option box, everything is shown and everything is implemented. And for the restaurant to use, every restaurant is shown in the page and showing the corresponding data to each page. So, as you can see, for this page, we have used the Flexbox. So for the Flexbox, I have set orders for each one of them, and here, and for the restaurants menu, I used the Flexbox to wrap the content inside the page like this. In each viewport, if each restaurant will be wrapped. So if I choose to inspect this page and to work with any mobile device, like this, if I choose Galaxy S5, everything is working fine. If I choose to work with iPad, everything is implemented and working. Every restaurant and cousin is corresponding to each viewport, and there is no problems. Okay, now for the second page also we have the view details page. Here in this page you have to show the restaurant data and the map and the reviews for each restaurant. As you can see here, we have also used Flexbox for this page to order elements to be hidden and shown in each viewport like this. Here I have the restaurant view, I have the breadcrumb, then the map at the top, then they have the cousin name and the map and the order details and the and the restaurant review at the bottom. So Flexbox will give you the flexibility to make the page at any orders you would like to use. So it's the most easier thing you can do with. Okay, so this is for the responsive. What about the accessibility part? What should be done to solve the accessibility part for this project? Okay, I will give you a head start for this part. Uh, I will give you a head start for the accessibility to tell you where to start from. The Google developers tools have the something called the audits tab. Remember this tab, it's very important for you to use for audits and for you to deal with responsiveness. Here in the audits tab, we will perform an audit like this. So we would like to perform an audit, so I don't need performance or progressive or best practices or COO. All what I need is just to check for accessibility, and this will give us hints about what we need to be done. So it will be rendering now for the accessibility. As you can see, it's like 70% and moving on. It scan over the page and tell you what are you missing for the accessibility for this page, and give you a total score of number of how percent of is your accessibility for this page, and the missing accessibility attributes for each element in the page. It just takes some longer times, just we have to hold on. Okay, as you can see, I have an 88% rate of the accessibility, with some hints to increase this number of accessibility. Let's see what are missing for us. Here, the iframe map for the map is missing its title, so we can add this title for the map to work with the iframe. We have the color contrast is satisfactory. We need to change the colors to be able for the blind people or for the any others who have sufficient with eye visions can change the color ratio. And the HTML element for the lang attribute. So these are the missing attributes for this restaurant view page. If we are back again to the main page of the restaurants, here for this page, let's also start a new audit for the main page and see what's are missing for our for accessibility. Here it's loading again for each page to show you what's missing for you as for the accessibility part of the project. Like this, it's giving you some head starts for what are you missing. We are waiting to it to finish. So here we have accessibility ratio up to 80%. So we have the iframe also missing for the map, need some improvements, and some form elements for the neighborhood select is missing its area controls, and for the cousin select is it's also missing some area controls for it. So like this, you will have a good understanding of what is missing for your accessibility you need to work with. The more options you have here and the lower number you have, that means you have more work to do. Okay, for some accessibility to work for this page, we have for like something like the option box here as an example. Is missing the area controls for it to work. So to solve this problem, we need to provide the area controls for each one of them to work with. You can use the attribute of area labeled and pass its value to drop down list for the city and the drop down list for the cousins. So like this, it will provide a fallback for the drop down for the accessibility option. For the iframe map, Google don't let you access its content, but you can do it by doing some research. We'll give you some hints to use the iframe to access the area controls for the iframe. But for your information, the Google Maps or the Mapbox map, both of them are fully accessible. You can navigate to each content inside them by using the tab like this. So each tab is provided for you to work with accessibility. So here in each tab, I have been navigating inside the page. Like as you can see, the tab now is here. Zoom out, then it goes through satellite, and now it's over the cousins down here for each cousin. So you have the tab working successfully on the page. Also, you can use the default tab index for accessibility. Tab index forces the page to use your tab order for each header or element inside the page. Like this, you can force the page to render the way you are doing it with, and everything will be working in order for the accessibility option. So let's have some questions about this part from the Slack channel. Uh, so Uzana is asking if she can use someone else's map, the Google Maps API key for this project. Sure, Uzana, you can use your own key for any one key for this project as long as it's working and there's no problem with it. Uh, So for Valeria query, besides service worker, which are the most important lessons or topics in order to approach and finish the project? For this project, you have mainly three lessons to finish this project: the service worker, the accessibility part, and the responsiveness. These are the three lessons are important for this part for the project to be finished and done. Okay, for Diana Fire, she is asking about how to check if the surface worker is working correctly and how to make images responsive. Okay, for to make sure that you have the surface worker working successfully, all you have to do is to inspect inside your page and navigate to application. Here you will have the surface worker tab. As you can see, you have received the surface worker on 23 of June at 1 o'clock. So this like this, you have a running and it's working surface worker. So you will have it, you can see it here, and everything should be working with you. If you would like to update it, just press update and you will see it's now updated. Each time you press update, it will get you to the last state of your surface work. For Zana, she is asking, she has added the Mapbox key. What don't know, don't not sure what to do next. What to do next is up to you. Work with accessibility, work with responsiveness. It's it's your options. Choose the right order for you and just hit start. Uh, for Red, if you are using Flexbox, there is no need for media query. I think you will have to add some media queries for small screens to render the images and to make it more responsive and avoid the big sizes. Okay, if you're user friendly, depends on your approach. You can stick to just Flexbox, or you can combine Flexbox. You can combine Flexbox with media query. Like this, you will have the full approach for your page. In this page, I am using only Flexbox. For the restaurant page, I use media query. Beside Flexbox, both of them will give you the full control of your page and how to render everything in the right order. Yes, Red is asking for the clone repo have a different look than the review board. That's true. As you can see in the project rubric, you have to work on the review board to provide the same look as the rubric said. The main page here, I will show you something. So this is supposed to be the default restaurant review for this page. Nothing shown is here, and everything is not working. As I said, you have to work with responsive and to make the project look like all the rubric content. Choose the colors you want to work with or anything. Make sure that everything works fine, and that's why we need to use media queries so your page will look different than I use. Here I have added my own CSS styles for these pages like this, so you can have it working and fully look like this. This is my styles. I have worked like this to implement my styles and to implement the looks I need for the project. So you have to work with your styles for this approach. So user friendly is also asking about removing the bins from the map for the map box. Uh, no, I don't think so. It's important for the user to map through each pin inside the page like this. He can navigate to any restaurant by tapping on the map marker. This is a good approach for accessibility. I think you don't have to do it by your own. Just go ahead and let the user do what they want with the tab index. Okay, so this is just now for the accessibility part and for the uh, responsive part. What about the service worker? How can I make the project render offline without needing to provide anything? All you have to do is to provide the service worker for your project. So, what should I do to make the service worker work? Here, let's have a look about how to make our service worker look. So I have implemented my service worker, the initial part at the main page, and the rest for the service worker itself. Okay, here, this part here is very simple and just asking if the browser having the surface worker in navigator or not. Some why this approach, as you know, some browsers support the surface worker and some others don't support. So I don't know if the browser support it or not. So I had to ask if the browser supports the surface worker or not. So if the browser support already the surface worker directly, I will go to the navigator and register my service worker, and this is the directory to my service worker file where I want to work with. Remember, it's a promise, so you need to make it resolve and make it reject. You need to handle it in the registration steps, and you need to handle it if you have any errors. So like this, if you can see, I am using .then for the register for the service worker. If the register is in the installing status, I just console.log. It's just installing. If it's waiting, I have to say it's installed. Uh, and if it's active, I have a service worker active. And at the final part, I see that the registration of the service worker it has succeeded, and my scope for the service worker is just my registration scope. Like this, you can know where the service worker is running. So you can see this scope here. It's not showing. Sorry. So, sorry for this. This is a live version, and GitHub don't show Service Worker for the live versions. I'm sorry. And here dot catch. If you are providing a fallback for your registration Service Worker, I console log what errors happened and the error that supposed to be working with. So these are the main steps for the Service Worker to run with or to register just the Service Worker file. But what I need to implement inside this file? What do I need to do? For this file, we have to implement the following steps. I will be with you. So this is my Service Worker file, and if I will explain each one for you. Okay, here I want all my URLs to be cached in my service worker. So I am caching all the URL I need for my service worker to run. Sorry. So here, these are the list of my URLs I need to cache and the files that I need to make them caching for my file. Here I cache the skeleton page or the root of my page. So anything after this root will be cached, and the restaurant and the styles and the data itself need to be cached. Like this, every data will be working for offline, and the images for each restaurant image need to be cached beside the main file and the main restaurant besides the database helper. All this file needs to be cached for your project to work offline, so the user will not have to work again to download this file. So let's start with the service worker itself. So I am adding the self to add event listener. If it's installed, I will be waiting and I will open the static cache name where it's up here, the static cache name. So for meaning it's restaurant cache one, I am making an increment for my cache files. So each time it caches a new number. So for the cache data, I will log cache and then return cache. I will add all the URL I need to the cache for the service worker. Again, it's very easy. If the event listener is in the install event, I will open the cache folder and choose the correct cache name for my file and then cache all my URLs in the top here of the file for my caching file name to work. So if my service worker is in the active directory, I will cache keys, then I will do a promise all for the cache names and get the latest restaurant name and delete the old caches. What does this mean? This means if I have any old caches for my project, when I activate the new service worker, it deletes the old cache name and create a new cache name for this file. So this caches to delete the cache name which I have and create a new cache name. Okay, and here now I want to fetch the data and every request to my page. So I will use cache to match my event request and then use it to return my fetch request to my page. So like this, I am fetching all the data and everything will be working fine for me. And all the data requests will be okay. Okay, so these are the three steps required for you to handle your service worker. Like that, you can handle all the caches and your service worker should be working successfully. You have cached all the required files for your project, starting from the skeleton and from the restaurant and for the main page and everything like this. You have cached all the files required. And after caching them and adding them to the cache folder, you need to make sure that you are not caching the same file again. If you have changed anything in your files, you don't need to use the same cache. You need to use the new cache name. So here I check for the cache.t and make a return for the cache where it starts with the restaurant with a number. Here I have added each number with the cache number. This cache number will be changed every time I will install the service worker. And will if the cache name is don't equal the static cache name, this means that the cache name already has changed than the main file. I will cache the one I need and I will tell the cache folder to delete the old cache name. Why is this? because I have implemented new services and I have implemented new data. So everything need the old data need to be removed and the new data need to be shown to the user on the screen. So this is the last part for the service worker, which is easy and very flexible to work with. All what you need again is to make sure you are caching all the folders or all the files needed for your page. Then make sure you add them to the cache directory. Final thing, change the cache name automatically. Get the data to work in the page where the request ID or which the page is working. Okay, but how can I check if my service worker is working or no? All what you have to do is on the tab page on the dev tools of your project, you have the network tab. Make sure you check this network tab, and here you can find that everything is cached. Let's make a new refresh to handle every file for the project. Here you can see if you pressed the offline, this means you are now disabling the internet connection for your project, and you should make sure that everything now is working fine. So as you can see here, as it's a live version of the project and the service worker is not implemented successfully for this page, the data is not working. I will be back again. Here it's working as it's offline. You can see everything is working. You can see that as long as the map is didn't authenticate, it's showing on the page with the service worker. Every file you asked for is has been cached and working fine. The style has been cached, the page ID has been cached, the restaurant info and the DB helper and the restaurant's data.json. Everything you have cached is now on page, and the page is working with offline network, and there's no problems. You can see here I can't get as I don't have a network connection for my page, and the page is showing in front of me with no problems. The all data is shown. This means the service worker has been successfully cached my data. So to see all this cache, all I have to open this page and to see cache storage. Here at this part you can see the cache file for your project. It's coming from the github.io and everything is working fine. So now I have the service worker which is running, and the restaurant cache data is also running. So everything you have is running in your page. Here I have an error because I am still offline. I need to make it back work online again. Then I will go to application, then update my service worker. Here, because of no internet connection, I will run the page again and now update. Installing everything is back to normal and every data is being cached. There is no problem with my service worker. So as you can see, the Chrome DevTools are your main point of contact for your application. Your console is your eyes for the backend data, and your application is your eye for the service worker and for the cache storage, and the audits is your eye for the accessibility part. So these are the main three things you need to work with to provide accessibility for your page and to make sure every one of them is working successfully. Uh, like this, you are now sure you have implemented everything in details and everything is working fine. Okay, we are back again for questions. If you have any more questions, you can ask in Slack and I will respond for you. Okay, for Serena, she is asking if I have two versions of pictures, a lower and a higher version resolution, which one should be cached? I think you should cache the lower version of images to reduce the amount of data transferred from the server to the local host of the project and for faster page load. For Stephanie Oliveira, should we use the secret set and sizes attributes to work in the responsive images or changing to percent is fine? Uh, I don't know exactly, but it's up to you. It's your project. Use all the information you know. Practice everything. Practice and fail. Do your best practice for this project. Don't worry. Nobody will judge you. You learn from your fails. Try everything to make everything work. The more you try, the more you learn. Do your best to solve all these problems. Lots of things cached. What about memory management? Okay, for Alter Souls, I don't think you have to worry about the memory. The new JavaScript engine V8 and V7 for Chrome and Firefox handle by themselves the memory management. You don't have to worry about them. They do all the dirty work for you, and don't worry. All you have is to work and keep the memory management for them. They will handle the request and the memory load for you. So, like this for now, we have talked about the major three parts of the project. And for the map, for the service worker, for the responsive, and for the accessibility. If you still have more questions, please ask them on Slack and I will keep answering you one by one. I have no problem like this. This project uh, is really an easy project you can do. It just needs some times and some practices. Don't get in rush. Take your time. Think before you do. Try to implement everything you learned from this nano degree or this scholarship in this project. Uh, Take your time. Don't be in rush. Choose the things you would like to work with. It's okay. Sometimes you will find it hard. Sometimes you will find it easy. Just think before you choose. Try and try and try. The more you fail, the more you learn. It's very simple. You can't pass from the first time. You have to pass from the second. The second time will learn you what mistakes you have done. Do your best, and don't be afraid from anything. So enjoy your time. So anyone have any more questions, you can ask on the main Slack channel, and I'm here waiting for your questions and to answer it. Take your time. Okay, I am waiting for your questions on Slack. Let's see what questions more we have. Thank you, Violetta, for for this help and for your great efforts to be with us for now. You are really doing great work with me. Without you, I wouldn't be able to make this all. Thank you, Stephanie, for this. Thank you, Guillermo, for this also. Thank you all. This really appreciated from you, all of you. Uh, okay, so we are going for another 5 minutes. If no more questions, I will roll over all the project again one more time. Then I will say goodbye for everybody. Hope you enjoyed this tutorial and opened the locked doors for you and give you some idea about how to solve your problems. Uh, every time you work for this project, try to work in small pieces. Don't work in the project in total, just take it line by line. Uh, every time you fail, every time you learn, make it an example for you, put it in your head every time. Don't worry about your fail. Everything is going to be okay with you for the next project. For Reed is thanking us for the next two projects. For the seventh and the eighth project here, hope to be with you for both of them. I will do my best to be with you. You really made my day. I hope I was able to solve all your problems and to do my. I tried to do my best. Uh, so I will now again. I will roll over everything again to just for remembering you what we have talked about already, and then say goodbye for everyone. So again here For the restaurant main page, okay, let's open it. Okay, again, here is your project. Here is your everything working. Remember, you have done great work so far. You have learned a lot from the last 5 projects. Remember, you have to implement the area controls for these two as they are missing the area controls. For the map, it's already managed for the focus and for the tab index. Don't bother yourself by making anything for it. For the restaurant, you have to use your own tab index to for the browser to use your tab for the elements you would like to use or to work with. Like this, you will have your own order. The best practice for the project is to use media query side to side with Flexbox to have control for all over your images and your control and your page flow. Like this, everything will be working fine. This is for this part of page. And for the view details page, you have to implement everything in order. Here I am using media queries for images, and for the page I am using the tab index and the flexbox to handle this everything position. As you can see here, the breadcrumb is just in the half of the page, and for smaller sizes of the screen, the the tab index or the breadcrumb is in the top of the map content area. So it's full percent now width, not 50%. So like this, make sure you use media queries side to side with Flexbox to give you the correct order of elements. So it's order 0, order 1, order 2, and order 3 for the project, for the restaurant name, and reviews is the order 4. Everything is has its own order for the Flexbox. For the reviews, make sure to implement your styles and the colors. Don't stick with the project rubric. Do all the colors you would like to change. I have changed many things in my rubric, so it's all up to you. You will just be parted with the service worker. So like this, so you have everything working in a screen. Tab index and area labels for these two. This is for the accessibility and for the responsive of the design. For the surface worker, again, we have been talking about how to install the surface worker inside my page by doing this sample steps here, down here. If the browser has a surface worker in it, install or I'm sorry, register my service worker and passing my own directory for it, so the service worker would work fine, and then do my promises thing to handle the request for the success and for catch if the install failed. Like this, you will have your service worker running fine for this project. And now for the surface worker itself, what should be done inside it and what data need to be done. All what you have to do is to implement the surface worker, cache data inside it. Remember to cache everything you need for this project. to work offline for the user. If you forget any one of them, the data will not be working for offline. For example, if you forget to load the DB helper file, your project can't handle the images or the data sent from the restaurants.json file to the main page. So everything will be messed up and nothing will be working. Uh, hope like this everything will be solved with you. Remember, everything needs to be cached, the skeleton of the page and the restaurant and the style sheets and the restaurant's data and the images for the 10 restaurants you have in the main page and the main data JavaScript file beside the restaurant info and the DB helper. All these are important for you to load your project offline. Then passing them to the cache file to cache them inside. At the end, you need to register the service worker and make sure you delete the old cache name every time you register your service worker so you don't have a duplication for the service worker, and then render the data according to the event request you are sending to the page, so the service worker should be working fine. So finally, all these were the steps required for you to handle this project to work. Okay, for the Chrome tips, we have three secrets or three tabs. We need to work them. The first one is the network. We need to make sure we are taking on the offline to make sure that our project is working offline. We need to check for the application tab for the service worker here to make sure that our service worker is working, and for the cache storings to make sure that our page is caching our page and our files. The last tab is our audit tab. We need to perform an audit to make sure that we are checking for the accessibility and for that everything is working fine. Like this, we have everything is working. Here you can see my service worker is now active and the registration has been successful from this scoop for the service worker. Like this, now everything is working and the service worker has been implemented. Every page is working fine and no problem in it. Finally, hope I have done everything for you and hope you got all the information required for the project to work. I tried to scroll over everything. Uh, Goodbye for today. See you on our next study jam. Enjoy your day. Goodbye for now. Let me say goodbye by face. Okay, goodbye. Enjoy your time. See you in Project 7 or Project 8. Study well. Enjoy your time. Bye bye.